Yo ho ho, welcome back to another video. So today I'm going to be talking you through an incredibly rushed spring TBR. I know you're thinking spring, it's almost summer. What are you even doing with your life? I don't even know. But basically I realised that we still have a month's worth left of springtime in the Northern Hemisphere, and I'm going to try my best to binge read as much as I possibly can over the next month, just to kind of catch up on my reading because I haven't really been the most productive with it so far this year. The year hasn't gotten off to the best start so far, and I'm just trying to turn that around now. So let's get into what I'm currently reading, which is kind of embarrassing because I can't even remember if this book was on my winter TBR or my autumn TBR, and I'm still reading it, but it is In the Glass Darkly by Sheridan Le Fanu. This is a short story collection. The only short story that I've read from it so far is Carmilla. I really loved that. I've been meaning to read it for such a long time, and because I've gotten that out of the way, I haven't been massively drawn to pick it up again and complete the rest of the short stories in it. So this is one that I want to read and get it off the list. Another book that I started and just got nowhere with was The Eye of the World by Robert Jordan. I picked this up in March and then I ended up catching the old You Know Yourself finally, and that just took me out at the knees. And basically I wasn't even, not alone was I not able to read, but I just wasn't even able to look at screens or anything like that because the pressure in my head was so immense. So that kind of spoiled my initial experience with it, but I just haven't been motivated to pick it back up. I'm doing that thing that I tend to do quite a lot whenever I get a bit worked up, is that I say, I'll read this book when I'm in the mood to read it and when, you know, everything is perfect and I'll be in the perfect headspace for it and I'll take as much as I possibly can in about it. And because again, with larger novels, especially entries to series that I may be taking on, I tend to get a little bit worked up, and I feel like I overcomplicate things, that I kind of purposely stress myself out in order to try and remember as much as possible about the story so that the next book will make sense and that I won't like lose the thread of the plot or anything like that. I think I'm actually just going to start it over again. I think I only got about like 60 pages into it initially. So yeah, I'm probably going to start it again and see where it takes me this time and actually like buckle down and read it. Onto the books that I'm planning to read over the next month. The first one is Before the Coffee Gets Cold. This is a time travel story where there's a coffee shop in Tokyo that has this one particular seat that if you sit in, you're able to travel backwards in time. And the story seems to focus around women and them using the seat to go back in order to repair past relationships or to avoid some sort of past trauma that they've experienced. But the rule is that they have to get back in time before their coffee gets cold. Otherwise, I'm assuming things don't work out for them so well. So yeah, I'm really intrigued to read this. I've seen this doing the rounds over the last couple of years since it was translated into English. I'm hoping it's going to be one of my favourite reads of the year so far. Next is The Trial by Franz Kafka. So I have been meaning to read this for quite some time. This is a story that was inspired by Crime and Punishment. The main character is arrested for something and he doesn't know what crime he has supposedly committed, and he's just left in the dark about it. I know that this book was published after Kafka's death in like 1925, and I think that this book was never actually completed. So I'm assuming that the editors of this have like used the last chapter as a way to kind of end it abruptly. That's what I'm just expecting, is that the story's going to end abruptly and we're probably going to be left with a couple of questions. I tend to really like books like that give you food for thought, especially like if I'm going to be thinking about this over the next couple of weeks after I read it. The next book is something that I am incredibly hyped for. It is Blood of Elves by Andrew Sapkowski. This is the first proper full-length introduction to the Witcher series. So this book primarily follows Ciri as she's under Geralt's protection and the realization as to why Nilfgaard and others are hunting her down and why she is so important to the main storyline. I'm really just excited to get into it and to immerse myself in that world. I wasn't a huge fan of season 2 on Netflix. I feel like it was just an overall huge disappointment. However, I'm not going to let my disappointment with watching the series infiltrate my overall enjoyment of the actual book series, because I feel like I did that for Game of Thrones, and that's something I'm going to reference later on in the video. But yeah, I'm just planning just to be on the ball with the series, because now I have got nothing stopping me, because this was the last book I was meaning to pick up in the series, so now I can actually just crack on with my reading of it. Then to get into a bit of horror, I have A Head Full of Ghosts by Paul Tremblay. So I've never read any Paul Tremblay before. This is going to be my first experience with him, and I'm hoping that it's going to be good, because I've heard so many positive things about his writing over the last couple of years, and I picked this up purely because it's a possession story. Like, I am someone who is a fan of just reading the same style of stories over and over again, just in different packaging. This is about a family who are already struggling, but they have 2 young daughters, the eldest being 14, and she starts displaying severe mental illness issues. She starts having violent outbursts, behavioral issues, all that kind of thing. And as her mental illness progresses, her father starts to believe that that's not what she's actually suffering from. She is in fact possessed by a demon. So going with that logic, they end up on some sort of reality TV show called Possession that documents her illness or whatever it is that's actually happening to her. And I just think that's a really cool concept. Like, it's a really cool modern twist on a ye old concept. So I have really good feelings about this. I hope that it's going to be a 4 or 5 star read for me, and if you've read it, let me know. Next, I have The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. So this is about a group of Native American men who went on a hunting trip in their younger days, and I'm assuming something went awry on this trip because it comes back to haunt them later in life. And I'm not necessarily sure if this is like a haunting story or if it's more so of a curse, but basically the main character starts having visions of the other men on his trip, and that horrible things start to happen to them. I really don't know much about it bar that, but I'm really interested to see how I fare with this, because this has been doing the rounds over the last 2 years all over at least my version of BookTube and my Instagram and stuff, and I've just seen people rave about it non-stop, and I think it was more so of a cover buy for me, because I do think this is a very intriguing cover, and I'm making an effort to read more contemporary horror over the next couple of months, you know, because I tend to just solely read classics, and I'm just trying to kind of branch out. I'm really looking forward to this, although I feel like I do need a little bit more hype in order to get me a bit more motivated to read it. Then the next book that I have is another short story collection. It is The Things We Lost in the Fire by Mariana Enriquez. So this is 12 short stories, and they're all based around gothic horror, from what I can tell. It's been recommended to me a number of times on here, and I feel like most people know my taste pretty well, so that's why I love getting recommendations from you guys, because I'm very rarely ever disappointed with what I'm recommended, you know. So I'm really looking forward to this. I'm planning to read this over like the next week or two. I'm so eager to crack on with it. Then I have a little bit more fantasy. I have A Dance with Dragons Part 2 by George R.R. Martin. So I was making a really strong effort to get all the books that had been published finished by the time the final series came out a couple of years ago. And unfortunately that didn't happen. I got down to the first part of Dance of Dragons, and then the series came out and I watched it as with everyone else. And yeah, it really just took the wind out of my sails, and I was so resentful over how the series went and how it was written and all that kind of thing, that I feel like I took it out on the books, which is, you know, no fault of their own. I couldn't face going back into that world knowing that that's the potential of where the books are going to go. And even the fact that the books are so behind where the series got to, like in the last book that I read, Tyrion was still on the boat. I just kept using that as a way to reinforce myself, being like, Tyrion's still on the boat. Like, what's the point of reading it when I'm still so far behind? He hasn't even met Daenerys yet. I decided, listen, at the start of the year, I made a list of all the series that I'm currently in the middle of, and I was actually quite surprised because there's quite a few I've got on the go at the moment. This is the first one that I could cross off my list, because this is the only book that I have left to finish until The Winds of Winter comes out, whenever that may be. So yeah, I want to be up to date, and I want to start tackling that series list as soon as I can. I feel like this is going to be kind of nostalgic going back into this world, because I did start it in 2012, which is when I started my YouTube channel. and I had somehow avoided all the spoilers of the TV show at that point. I went into it not knowing a thing about it, and it just really blew my mind and I was immediately hooked. So I want to get that kind of excitement back in my life again. The next book is another one that I feel like was really inspired by my Instagram algorithm again. It is Bunny by Mona Awad. I don't know if I'm actually going to necessarily like this, but I've heard that it's disturbing, that it may be horror related. It's kind of like a thriller as well. I'm not necessarily sure what genre it actually goes in, but I know that it's dark academia and that it's about a girl in college who is trying to get in with this society where all the girls in the society refer to each other as Bunny. And I'm assuming that this society of girls get up to no good and the main character gets like rope-a-doped into it. But it sounds kind of cringy the way they call each other Bunny, but apparently it works really well within the context of the characters. That's at least what people say about it anyway. So yeah, I'm not too sure about this one. If you've read it, let me know your thoughts. And then finally I have Shiver by Junji Ito. I have been meaning to try to get through his backlog of stories that have been published in English over the last couple of years. Shiver is one that I'm really excited to read because I feel like it's his most beloved short story collection so far, at least. This includes the story Greased, which I'm really, really curious about because it's supposedly a really disturbing, gross story. And it's one that I see other people continuously reference. And I'm excited to kind of get into these short stories because I feel like he is a great ideas man and he comes up with some brilliant concepts for stories, but sometimes his longer form stories tend to kind of lose the plot by the end of it. And I feel like he's at his strongest when he's writing a short story. And hopefully I'll be all inspired by the spookiness of this story to make more horror related content, especially more Junji Ito related content. So that has been my rushed last minute spring TBR. As always, if you've read any of these books yourselves, let me know your thoughts. Hopefully I've got some good stuff to look forward to over the next couple of weeks. And of course, let me know what you have been reading yourself because I love getting sneaky recommendations from you guys. If you want to keep up with me outside of YouTube, you can always follow me on my Instagram. I am making a real good effort on updating that regularly and posting on my stories and all that sort of thing. So if you're looking for more up-to-date book related content or just life stuff in general, feel free to pop over there. And yeah, that's basically where you can find me outside of YouTube. So as always, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you're all keeping well and I will talk to you soon. Goodbye.